What is going on, guys? Joey here. Today we're going to be talking about pricing when it comes to coaching. The way that we do pricing, I would like to call it a dynamic pricing model, meaning it changes based on certain factors, and we're going to go through some of those factors, and I'm going to explain things. And yeah, I think this is just the best way that helps everybody involved. It helps the people that are inquiring. It respects the time of the coach. It takes into account some of the limitations that the lifter may have when it comes to trying to find a coach or trying to get into training and stuff like that. So I'm going to kind of go over those things, explain it here, and I think you guys will be rather surprised, as I do believe that we are pretty affordable compared to most of what's out there. For those of you that don't know, I have been around coaching. I've been training people since I was 16 years old, and even before that, I was very much involved in personal training, being in gyms, working at the front desk. My family taught classes and trained people, so I was like very into it. And then as time went on, I got more into strength things. I worked at commercial gyms, so I've seen like a lot of different examples of like how things like this work. I also at the time, 2013, 2014, 2015 when I'm talking to, you know, it was really mostly bodybuilding. There wasn't really like many big coaching entities, at least that I had really any relationship with. Um, and over the years I found that this just works really well, for retaining lifters. I hate the word client. I don't know why. I just don't like it. Retaining lifters. Um, and I guess I'll just kind of go right into it. So the prices that we've been working with, um, as of late is going to be somewhere between 120 to 180 USD per month. Now the both ends of that are like special cases. You're only going to get 120 if some reasons I'll explain. You're only going to get 180 if some reasons I'll explain. Um, the bulk of the lifters that work with us are going to be in the middle, somewhere between 140 and 160. The first month is a little bit more expensive. It's usually somewhere around this. Um, just because there's a lot more like stuff that needs to happen in the beginning. Also, people just want to do 1 month and fall off. Granted, the last time it is so rare that that happens. Um, and this could partly be why people, if they're just going to do 1 month and fall off, we don't really know what their intentions are. So we have sort of like a protection against that. If people are going to be here, then they're going to want to commit. Um, so that's why we have that there in the beginning. It also helps like dealing with paperwork, and it's just like a little bit more expensive in the beginning to get things going, um, to have that. There have been instances where, so for example, if somebody wants to do 12 weeks, and they're going to be like in that middle range, they're probably going to play somewhere between, you know, 400 to 450 USD. And it would like correspond with whatever their monthly rate is. It will be like a discount off of the monthly rate. Um, if they're doing 120 a month, then I mean that's like super super low, and there's not really a reason for them to. They're not going to do 400. It'd be 360 if they wanted to do that. So that's kind of like where we're at. And I'll explain like some of the spectrum of this. So if you're gonna the 120 per month, me personally, I'm probably not really gonna be taking anyone for 120 per month unless like a million things need to align, right? The person has to be like a diehard flex person, meaning they've been wanting to work with us for a really long time. They're very like invested in like what the team is doing, and um, they maybe they're younger, so they're having trouble affording anything beyond that. They might be in a country where inflation is like really really hard for them to deal with, and the USD is like really strong against whatever currency they have. I've had many situations where that's been a thing. Argentina, India, Um, a lot of like, places like that where it's just harder for them to be in that median range, and they've shown like a lot of persistence. Maybe they were on the wait list for a little bit, um, and we have a slot, or I talked to one of the coaches and they're willing to, the lifter shows like some promise, like they have ambitions to, they want to go through a local meet, a national meet, and try to go beyond that. Um, I would rather have somebody pay on the lower end and be here for a long time so that we can develop them, as opposed to paying like, um, you know, 200, 250. I don't even know of anybody ever charging more than that, to be honest. Um, I know in bodybuilding it's very common. Um, in some instances, this can go up to that, and this can go up to that, actually, now that I think about it. But I will explain those instances. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much why, if we get people that are really committed and they want to be here, um, like I said, the 120 is extremely rare. Like we don't really do that often. But it has been done. And in the past, we did do that because, like Flex has been around a long time. The world was very different like 10 years ago. Literally, like 10 years ago, the prices of everything was like way, way, way less. Um, which is unfortunate when you think about like Earth and like humans and where things are going. But anyway, more than likely, it's going to be between that, 140 to 160 range. That's just like a pretty standard thing. Now, the reason why we would go to those higher ranges, either one, the coach is very busy. They have a lot of lifters. Their time is like very scarce, and they're just like, you know what? I will only do it for this amount. There's no problem with that. Some coaches have, maybe they have like a partner. And I'm talking about my coaches. I don't know what other coaches do. And I will say that coaches can charge, like, it's America, right? I mean, we live in America. You can charge whatever you want. You can charge whatever you feel that you're worth. So if somebody thinks they're worth 250 a month and they only want to work with 30 people, like that's totally fine. Their lifters may come to them few and far between. I would assume that because they're charging so much, they're going to do like a really, really good job. They are going to be like available pretty much all the time, and they can justify that price, which is fine. Like I said, it's totally fine. Um, Shit, you might even go up to 300. It just depends, right? At the end of the day, um, I enjoy what I'm doing. I am happy to be an active part of somebody's powerlifting journey and the financial burden not be so great to them. Now, people say you undercharge, you should charge more, all that stuff. I mean, over time, I feel like we will have no choice but to inch our prices up, and it's very seldom that we do that. But I am listening. I am paying attention. Also, though, like I will say that like right now in the world, the economy is like not the best. Um, you guys know I'm a big fan of Tesla. They're like laying off a bunch of people. Inflation is really high. Interest rates are really high, and there's like other factors that are affecting everybody, right? Powerlifting coaching is almost like a luxury. Um, One thing that when the world got locked down in 2020, what I learned was that people are very passionate about lifting, and they're gonna do whatever it takes to do the things that make them happy. Because one, they might feel like it's good for them. Two, they want to make progress. Um, so they'll find a way, right? They'll find a way. And even when, obviously we had stimmies, right? Everybody got stimmies or whatever. Not everybody. I didn't get it. But you guys get what I'm saying. They applied for loans, whatever. And that was back then. Things are, like I said, things are different now. But basically, trying not to get sidetracked here. So yeah, also like some of the coaches, like Will, for example, he's been here for 5 years, I believe. Um, it might be 6 years. He's been with me a long time. He has a very like big roster. Um, and he's like really busy, and he has like a lot of like notoriety, or like people just know that he's part of Flex, and he's like very, very busy. So he's gonna be like more on the higher end. It really just depends. Every situation is different, you know. This is why, like, when people inquire, I ask for all their information. I I usually offer people like options, right? I'm not just gonna say you're stuck at this. If they say I want this coach, and that coach says I'm only able to do it for this much, then that's the case. These are all these different factors that could like play into it, but these are pretty much like our ranges. Um, this is the most common, this is like the most common probably like price range that you're gonna get. Like I said, it's very seldom that we get the 120, that we do the 120 range. It would have to be like a lifter, like we've had a lifter in like a country that was like tough, and like they didn't have a lot of money and they had a really rough situation, but they really wanted to work with us, and they were like, a very like prominent lifter in their country, and they really wanted our help. Then we kind of like evaluate everything and say, sometimes I ask the boys and say, is anybody down to take this lifter? Here's the specifics. This is all they can afford. I just, that's we'd like to have the option to work with people if that's the case. I hate that, there has to be some kind of a barrier to entry, right? I'm sure there's kids that like can only afford $50 a month and they would love to have a coach, right? I'm sure there are I mean, that's why I have a channel. There's like literally years of content that you guys can go through. Um, that can help you, right? That can help you for free. There's literally I get a view, right? I get like I might get $100 a month from my YouTube channel. You know what I mean? Um, so I mean that's pretty much like our pricing, and like I said, I like to communicate with lifters. Sometimes I provide a range and say these are the coaches and this is the price range that they're willing to operate at. The things that affect that are how long they've been here, what the coach is willing to work for, given their social situation. So it really just depends. And we have a lot of flexible options for all different types of lifters. And like I said, I mean, we might have a version of this where, the a couple of our coaches are in an even higher tier of payment, but they work with way less lifters. Um, and they just have like a very, 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 very high retention rate. That's going to be difficult, right? Because paying 200, 250 a month is very few college kids that I know of, at least, that can afford that. And I never wanted Flex to be like priced out. I don't want someone to be priced out of Flex because they can't afford like those, like a set higher rigid tier. I like to be flexible with things, and almost everything that I do. Small technical difficulties. I like to be very flexible with everything that I do in my life. I like to provide options to people. If I give someone a program, it could change at any moment. Oftentimes, I'll give someone a program and I might say something that needs to go with the program in order for it to make sense. But if you just look at the program on its own, they're not going to get it. So there's a lot of different options, right? Um, I hope that makes sense. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. If you want to work with me personally, I mean, it just depends. I would say I will say this in August. Um, I will significantly expand my roster, meaning the amount of lifters that I can personally take. Just because there are some like life changes that are going to be happening that will allow me to do that. Um, I'm kind of going crazy right now with the travel, like not not actually going crazy, but like crazy in the sense of like I'm traveling a lot. I'm traveling all over the place, doing all kinds of different things. We have junior nats in 4 weeks. Junior nats in 4 weeks. IPF Worlds right after that. Junior Worlds right after that. Oh, the Raleigh meet, which is going to be in between those two. So it's just like a lot. Um, and after that, I will be significantly opening up my personal roster. Um, But like I tell people right now, like, hey, if you want to work with me personally, then like you need to like let me know ahead of time, and then it's gonna be like I I just kind of like pump the brakes a little bit. Um, but again, there are always special cases. Um, Contrary to popular belief, the majority of our lifters are not, you know, the best in the world. We have a lot of those, but they're not all that. They're mostly, one of the best things I think I could have ever done. Especially like if you look at, let's take my brother for example. His roster is very loyal to him, and I was able to find the right group of kids that he could develop from a really, really young age at that lower price point. And now some of them are threatening the open division first, top three totals. And that is exactly what I tried to create and cultivate here, right? Create these little sub communities on Flex. You find the right price, you find the right coach, you find the right thing for you that can help you get to where you want to go. Um, and that's pretty much why I do it that way. I know that like we don't have our prices directly on the site, and we were debating if whether or not that was something that we are going to do. Because it's so flexible, right? It's like all over the place. So like, how am I gonna? It's gonna be hard to kind of set it to one thing. But I figured I'd make a video like this, almost as like a halfway, like a half and half. Um, so it really just depends. But yeah, I feel like I'm missing something, but dynamic pricing depends on the situation, depends on where you're from, depends on what you're going through, depends on your age, depends on so many different factors. Um, you know, Things are always going to be changing. I feel like you have to do that to just like meet the demands of everything that's going on. I might be somewhat like people say, like I said, they're like, oh, you should up it, you should up it. If I keep hearing that, who knows, maybe I will. But it's like, it's I'm open to anything, but this is just what's been working, and I like having the flexibility to meet the needs of the lifters. I'm gonna go back to stressing out about worlds and stuff. I love you guys. It's nice to come on here and talk to you sometimes, and yeah, that's pretty much it.